Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to New York's Business Podcast. My name is Jacob Restituto, and I am the owner of Restituto Media, a photo and video company based out of Long Island. I'm also a musician based out of Northport. And today we are joined by Olivia Zakarin, the owner of several different businesses in Huntington. We're going to get into the conversation of all the different things that she does and how she got into them. So thank you so much, for Olivia, for taking the time. And let's get started. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the businesses? And I want to hear it all.
All right, so I'm Olivia Zakarin. I'm 26, born and raised on Long Island. I started my first business when I was 17, doing spray tanning out of my house, which then led to eyelash extensions, nails, teeth whitening, spray tans, waxing, facials, and tattoos.
So that's quite the list of things that you're doing. So I'm curious, how do you define like doing one thing versus many things? Like, why not just focus on lashes, and why do all the other things?
ADHD.
So to piggyback on that, it's funny you say that because, and I want to hear like more of an answer after that. But I've heard that most entrepreneurs, like the telltale sign of the entrepreneur, and this is actually going to be one of my talking points when I was like doing a little research last night, is the fact that you have so many you're doing so many different things, and I think that's the true sign of it. It's labeled as ADHD, and that's a real thing for some people, but and it very well may be a thing for you as well. But I think that that's the true sign of like an entrepreneur is like you want to be doing so many different things, and like a purebred entrepreneur, I think, is never satisfied with just doing their one thing. I personally, I have my photo and video business. I'm a musician. I run and manage a farm. Like there are all these different things. People are like, why are you doing all these things? It's like they make me happy, and I want to be doing these things.
Yeah.
And then there are people that want to be more focused. So people might see it as a bad thing, but I think it's a really great thing. So
Yeah.
tell me more about them.
So whenever I was doing sports when I was younger or other jobs, anytime I got to the highest point that I could be at, like for cheer, I became a captain. And then when I was at a restaurant, I became a manager. When I was at a tanning salon, I became a manager. I'm like, well, now there's no more growth. Like, where else can I go from here? So when you own your own business, you can just keep growing and growing and growing. There's no end point.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also love the fact that you started at your parents' house. I think that is the best, because I think that one of the from a viewer as inside of a business, I get frustrated when I see businesses be like, I gotta get all my ducks in a row before I get started. And some of the ducks be, oh, I need a space to rent. Oh, I need equipment. Oh, I need, and I come from personally the mentality of like, just get started and figure out as you go. And also not being afraid of the humble beginnings. Some people be like, oh, I don't want to have clients come to my parents. Like, you just do it and make it work and you start. And that's really, I admire that. So I think that's really cool. So what was the process of starting in your parents' house? And then, I mean, now we're in a pretty large space. So I want to hear like somebody that like, tell me about that growth. What does that look like?
So when I first started, I was in the spare bedroom of my parents' house, and I started that because I was spray tanning at a few different tanning salons that are still open, so I won't say the names. I then bought a $200 airbrush kit on Amazon, started spray tanning everybody in the room. After that, I started doing lashes, which nobody should do this, but I ordered a $30 kit on Amazon, grabbed my best friend, lashed her on my bedroom floor, glued her eyes shut. No. We're still friends. She still comes to me. She still trusts me, so we're good. After that, I realized you should get training. Took a class that was $800, which wound up being a waste. But then 3 months after that, I found my first studio in Northport Village, which was a 100 square foot room. So it was 10 by 10. It was literally this big. It fit my lash chair, and that was it. I was there for about 6 months. Then I decided to go to nail school. Went to nail school, then realized I couldn't fit a nail desk in there. So then I found my first storefront, which was right down the road. That was 500 square feet. Then after 3 years, the landlord changed. So I had to get out of there. Moved across the street from here to 800 square feet. Then that lease was only a year. So I was leaving the parking lot, stressed out to no end, looking all around the island. Not really all around the island, but more in a 5-mile radius, searching for a new place. And leaving that parking lot, I saw the for rent sign here. Showed up. The landlord happened to be here. I walked in and I was like, what do you have? He showed me this place. It was huge. I didn't need it. Talked him down to the price I wanted, and then here we are. This is 1,500 square feet.
And how long have you been here?
Since February.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you, as you were growing, your business grew to a point where you couldn't accommodate that business inside the space. You needed a larger space and then a larger space. So I'm curious what you did, or what in hindsight, right? Hindsight is 2020. What you did, or what you think happened, so that your business was growing. Like, how did you grow the clientele? Like, where did they come from, and how did you get to 10 by 10 room to a 1,500 square feet place?
I would definitely say word of mouth and social media. I never really paid for any ads on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. I ran a Groupon campaign once, and it was awful because they took like 70% of
Wow.
every sale. And then those clients, they only come for the one-off Groupon, and then they never show up again. So definitely word of mouth, Instagram, friends of friends, family.
So that's really interesting, just on the insight. See, this is why I love having conversations with business owners, because a Groupon could seem like a really great opportunity for business owners, and my wife uses Groupons all the time. But that's really interesting insight in the fact that 70% of the sale comes, and typically, like, for example, let's talk about hair, right? Because I know that my wife is just booked a hair appointment. I don't know if she uses a Groupon or not, but a woman's hair appointment could be pretty expensive.
Yeah.
A couple $100, and then they have places Groupons for significantly cheaper. So now that this place is already losing their money because they're reducing the price, and then they're losing it even further based on the fact that Groupon's taking all the income or the profit, and then from there hoping that the customer is a return customer. But like you said, most of those customers are just one-off customers. It's a really interesting insight.
I think one or two wound up staying.
Did those one or two pay for the rest of the ones that didn't, or was it still the money losing opportunity?
So I made the Groupon where it was only a one-time purchase per customer. So every time after that, they had to pay full price.
No, what I mean by that is, if they came, so let's say you said two customers came, say they came 10 times, was that profit enough to cover the loss of all the ones that only came once?
Definitely.
Okay. So then in reality, the Groupon actually worked out then.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have had any of those customers.
No, exactly. Yeah. I think 10 to 15 people came from Groupon, but only 2 stayed. I still have one of them that comes every other week, but all of our customers here wind up becoming friends and family, and
sure,
we go out to lunch after.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, depending on how you look at it, the Groupon might have been a failed marketing tactic.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what is one that you've done that you think really works?
Definitely doing like a $10 off if you refer a friend. So both the referred friend and you, the current client, get money off of your next service. That way it makes you come back and it makes you spread the word. Yeah.
Very cool. In the scheme of repeat customers, let's talk about that really quick. What are you actively doing to create repeat customers? Because so many businesses, like you said, might have a just one-time transaction, but that's not the goal of businesses. It's the goal is to have somebody that comes back every time. So what are you doing, and what do you think works to create repeat customers?
So not to toot my own horn, but most of the clients that come here and wind up staying, they say it's because of how personable we are. Every client that comes here, they say, oh my God, I can't believe you remembered that from 3 weeks ago or 5 appointments ago. How did you remember I went to this person's wedding, this vacation, and here and there and everywhere? And I feel like once you establish a relationship on a personal level, that you want to come back.
Sure.
Yeah.
I give this example a lot, but it made an impact on me. I do photo and video work for a pizzeria, and one of the things that he said that he thinks makes him really stand out is the fact that, like you said, when somebody comes in for a pizza, and maybe they have to wait 10 minutes, they have a conversation with the person. They say, hey, you want an espresso or something like that? Just have a conversation, offer them something to drink, right? But then also you start the conversation, be like, yeah, I'm coming home from my son's soccer game. They're going to the championship next week. Well, next week when you come, be like, how'd the championship go? It's like, oh my gosh, you actually remembered. You're more than just a quote unquote number. You actually you're a real person in there. And I think that makes a really lasting impact on the customer.
Yeah, definitely.
So I've found that in business, at least in my businesses and the businesses around me, there's a lot of ups and downs. It kind of sounds cliche, but they say the feast or famine. Some months are really, really good. Some months are really, really slow. This is a two-part question. How do you personally handle the slow seasons, and what do you do to get out of the slow seasons?
So thankfully in the beauty industry, it's pretty much year-round. Everybody always wants their nails done. They always want their lashes done. They want facials, whether it be because their skin is so dry because of the fall and winter months, or spring and summer, they want to prep their skin for all the sun that it's going to take in. I would say our slower season is usually right after the holiday season, because everybody just spent all of their money and they don't have anything that they feel the need to get done up for. So usually that's when we run sales and specials to, entice them coming in and getting more bang for their buck and stuff like that.
Sure, very interesting. That being said, based on the customers, we talked about repeat customers, I want to talk about customer feedback. I think personally, there's a grain of truth can be found in all customer feedback, no matter how rancid their personality may be. I'm curious if you found, first of all, how you handle customer feedback, but also if there's been a specific instance where customer feedback has actually made an impact on your business and be like, wow, that's a really good point. I think I'm going to change that.
I've never thought about it. I usually don't send out texts asking for reviews or anything just because
I'm sure people are probably leaving reviews anyway, though.
They have on Google. We've only gotten 2 bad reviews, but it was one-time customers, and they booked for something not knowing what it was.
Okay.
So they left unhappy because they booked for the wrong thing and didn't read the description that's clearly listed. But whatever. Other than that, I feel like customers always come back, so they haven't, put anything into the suggestion box.
I guess the review is that they're coming back and they're
exactly.
their friends.
Yeah.
Do you find that there's a lot of trends in this industry, like with the explosion of TikTok and the get ready with me's and the do my makeup with me's?
Yeah.
How has that affected your business?
I have to spend so much money on new supplies to keep up with the trends, which is fine.
Interesting.
But I wind up having less and less content to post because just this week, 6 people said I want the Moscow Mule nails, which are
I don't know what those are.
like the color of the copper mug.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's what they want on their nails. But I can't post 10 of those in a row because my feed is just going to be copper Moscow Mule nails. So it's fun to keep up with the trend, but I don't know if you heard of the Hailey Bieber nail that went around for like, oh my God, 4 years. And everybody got the Hailey Bieber nail. That was it, the glazed donut. I couldn't get the product. It was sold out in the forever. For 2.5 years, it was sold out. I wound up finding this one in Sweden, and I bought like 10 of them. And now nobody wants it.
I don't know what they are.
It's like a milky white pinkish base with like a clear shimmery thing on top.
Like a glazed donut.
Yeah, like a glazed donut. Yeah. Which, it's cute and classy, but everybody had it. Everybody was addicted to it forever. And I had nothing to post, so everybody's got the same thing over and over and over.
Very interesting. So that's really interesting, speaking about trends in the industry, like how it affects social media and stuff, and how, I mean, my wife, again, will reference her on her TikTok and stuff because her TikTok is very different than my TikTok.
Yes.
But hers is a lot of the beauty stuff. And it's interesting to listen, like when she's on the couch with me, like I'm listening to what all of them, the get ready with me's or all the stuff. And it's interesting. She's like, oh, have you heard of this trend? I'm like, no, I haven't heard of this trend. It's pretty insane how many trends are out there.
Yeah.
But how it affects, like, because everybody does it then. And what are you going to post if everybody, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
So what are you doing actively against that then? Like, how do you find content outside of that?
Thankfully, I have a few clients that just say, do whatever you want.
Really?
Yeah. So that's when I have my creative freestyling that our audience gives me.
So if I got a tattoo and I said, do whatever you want, what would you do?
Oh. So I would definitely ask you what you currently have, what you do not want,
sure,
and work off of that.
So that's a segue into the tattoo that I want to talk about. So how do you have beauty, I feel like to some degree, the tanning, eyelashes, skincare, and nails are all in that like beauty category. Tattoo is kind of the black sheep of those. So I'm curious, how did that come about?
So in 2019, I decided to take a eyebrow tattoo course, and I just thought it was that 2-day course, and that was it. And that's all I needed. Not at all. You need 1,000 hours. You have to be registered under the Suffolk County Board of Health, and you have to get your shop inspected and this and that. And this lady said none of that, of course. So the only way to get it is to get your full tattoo license. But if I'm getting my full tattoo license, I wasn't just going to use it for eyebrows and eyeliner and lip blush. So I don't really have too much of a creative background, but whenever I took art classes, I did okay in them. So I figured, why not just take a full blown and do it all.
So where does that lead? Like, how did you get started?
So I searched around Suffolk County. I went to like 20 different shops asking if I could have an apprenticeship, and obviously paid, but none of them would take me because I didn't have an art portfolio to show them. So finally, somebody that I knew somebody that knew somebody that knew a shop owner that had a tattoo artist, not a tattoo artist, had a tattoo license. And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But I don't know how to teach you what you want to do, because he really only does like big black work. He can of course do the little stuff, but he's like, I don't know how to do makeup whatsoever. So started doing my apprenticeship there, and then I had to wind up going to Vegas to take a fine line microrealism course and further my knowledge that way, because not too many people here do that.
What's microrealism?
Like, have you seen the little tiny baby dog tattoos where it looks like it's a picture just on you? It's that. So
Very
it's like
interesting.
super, super like 1 inch by 1 inch, 2 inch by 2 inch
Really?
dogs, cats, flowers. Yeah.
In reality, in 20 years, is that just going to be a black blob?
No.
Why? How is that not the case?
You use a finer needle. So
Okay.
usually the bigger needle tattoos are the ones that wind up blowing out and looking like poop. Like my tattoos on
Oh,
my
you
feet.
mean like all the self-tattoos that I have?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't have any self-tattoos, but as we were talking
Not
about
yet.
before, so let's give a little backstory. I bought a tattoo gun about 1.5 years ago.
Amazon?
Are you going to judge me if I say yes?
No. I have one I have 2 from Amazon.
Yeah, I bought it from Amazon. My cousin bought one before I bought one, and then he gave me a tattoo up here. So
Okay.
this is a cool story. My grandfather, we had my grandfather write, my last name is Restituto, and everybody called my grandfather and my dad Tudo. So we had my grandfather write out Tudo, and then not telling him what it was for, and then in the back corner of the house, he gave me a tattoo on the transfer paper up here of Tudo. But then I'm like, I need a tattoo gun. So at this point, like I said, we were talking about earlier, all my friends now have tattoos by me. And I think they're actually pretty decent. I mean, you'll be the judge of that, but I'll get your opinion on, is my phone over there? In the thing over there? Let's see. I want to hear your opinion on these. I think I have a folder. Let me see if I can find it. But, so here's one. So I ended up buying a tattoo gun, and but I refused to open the door of tattooing myself because I know that once I start, I will never stop.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by myself.
So that's a little star with some.
Okay, that's not bad. Are they in here?
No, it's just actually one photo.
Okay.
And then here, let me have a couple of them. So I stick to small little simple things. So that's
Yeah,
a little star.
easy enough.
Here's a little my simple crosses. I think I did a wave on somebody.
Yeah.
You know. And they haven't blown out yet. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know where I was going with that conversation.
The most important part, though, is safety and sanitation. So as long as you know that you're not using the same needle on multiple people, and you're wearing gloves, and you have all the disinfectant stuff, then you're good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Most important part.
Of course.
Yeah.
So where does that business look like it's taking you? Like, what does that look like? How do you focus on, or what are you focusing on? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. This is strictly your opinion. What business do you want to grow, and how do you decide what you want to focus on a Monday or a Friday, you know?
So my schedule at the salon, which is all the beauty stuff, is pretty much set in stone right now. I have Sunday, Monday off. Wednesdays and Saturdays are half days, so those are already set schedule with all my clients. And then my days off and the half days after that, I would go to the tattoo shop and finish some hours, or go in my tattoo room here and just doodle on paper, on fake skin, figure out my flash sheets and stuff like that.
And you said you need 1,000 hours?
Yeah.
Under his...
Yep.
Oh, okay. So if you do stuff here, it doesn't even count.
Yes and no, because I wound up getting another mentor who's in Nassau. So even though he's not in Suffolk, I contacted the Suffolk County Board of Health, and they said that any fully licensed tattoo artist is able to sign off on my hours.
Oh, okay.
So I'm able to double up and finish 1,000 hours.
Very cool.
Suffolk County is the only one that requires hours.
How
Yeah.
far are you into your hours?
Maybe 400 hours.
It's a lot of hours.
Yeah.
It's a lot of tattoos, too.
Oh, yeah. So thankfully, doodling on an iPad and Procreate and making flash sheets, all that counts.
Oh, because you're inside of you're in the craft.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
You kind of talking along the lines of the trends we were referencing earlier. What do you find are some of the biggest threats and the biggest opportunities you see in your industries?
Everybody thinks they can do it because everybody online makes it easy. Well, makes it look easy.
Tell me more about that.
Like when I first started, I got my $30 kit on Amazon. I was like, I'm good to go. I know how to do this, and glued her eye shut. Then
First of all, I want to hear how you unglued her eyes, but...
I gave her a scissor and told her to cut her bottom lashes off.
Okay. And
Whoops.
that started from the bottom, now we're here.
So she was actually my first client for the permanent eyebrow tattooing.
Wow.
Yeah, so she still had trust in me even after that.
That's
so,
amazing.
Yeah.
But sorry, continuing along. I want to hear more about everybody thinks they can do it.
So with eyebrow tattooing, I took this class and I was like, all right, I'm good to go. Then looked into it. I was like, okay, no, I'm not. You bought a tattoo gun because your cousin did it, and it's easy, which it is to do little small things. But then when you get into the super fine line microrealism or super detailed work, it's like, all right, I kind of need to learn from someone.
Yeah, and you need to have an art
Yeah,
background.
exactly. Nails I also thought was going to be so much easier than it is. I signed up for the school for it. It was 4 months, but they taught you nothing. They only taught you how to do a regular manicure and silk and fiberglass wraps that haven't been in since the 90s. But the state board is from the 90s.
Of course.
I remember picking up an acrylic brush for the first time to lay acrylic, and it was the worst thing ever. Oh my God, it was so difficult. And I have clients that are like, okay, so where do I get the stuff? I want to try it at home. Like, you could try, but not going to work out too well.
So wouldn't that be an opportunity then for you more than a threat? Because like once they realize how hard it is, they just come back to you?
Yes, but then there's a lot of like at-home nail girls that picked it up because they did get it.
Oh, meaning like their friends go to them?
Yeah, and then they're also unlicensed and they're doing it in their house and they don't have proper ventilation for the adhesives or the nail products. And
so they leave in high end with a tattoo thing?
Yes, exactly.
Sorry, a nail thing.
Nails, lashes, anything. Yeah.
Very interesting. This is an interesting question. It's kind of more in the nitty gritty of business, and that's kind of what like the podcast slogan is: for business owners by business owners. So I want other business owners to get something out of it. What have you found, whether it be related to scheduling or booking or payment systems or anything like that, customer service? What have you found are some systems or some programs or apps or whatever the case may be that you found really help your business move forward?
So I've only ever used Square because I did my research before signing up with them and I've never had an issue. They allow you to have any amount of employees you need online. You can make the employee schedule or they can also handle their own. They have a clock in, clock out system. They have a payroll system. They have a whole scheduling system. They also have some branch of it for restaurants or retail stores and stuff like that. They also have a whole branch of it where once you get big enough to need healthcare and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, they help you find healthcare for all of your employees.
So that's significantly bigger than the Square that I signed up with 12 years ago when I started my business. That's crazy. I didn't know it did all those services now. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Are there any others that you find, or is that the thing that you use the most?
That's the only thing I use.
Great.
Yeah, keeps track of inventory if you need it to. So does Gloss Genius, but Gloss Genius is primarily only for salons and appointment-based businesses. They don't have anything for retail or restaurants.
Very interesting. The life of an entrepreneur can be very rewarding, but also very stressful, especially when it starts to leak into the home life or the personal life. I'm curious how you find the balance between the work-life balance. If you think you've done a good job, a poor job, and what you're actively looking to do now.
So whenever I take off of work, I get sick. I think because my body is just always in motion, my brain's like, go, 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 that once I stop and breathe for a sec, my body's like, oh, so all of us can stop for a sec. So my immune system just shuts down and it's like, all right, here's a sinus infection for 4 weeks straight and strep throat and the flu, and it's just a disaster. So I don't really take off.
Cool.
Yeah.
But are you working 12 hours a day, or like do you like still have time to do things on your regular days?
I still have some time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not too much time because you'll get sick otherwise.
Not too much time, yeah. So my days off are usually going on my friends' boats or, I don't know, coming here to hang out or working on tattoo stuff. So I'm still working just without my clients there.
See, that's my favorite kind of work is, and people don't totally understand this, is like the aspect of, unless you own your own business, is like when you do what you, the cliche, like I don't know how to say, when you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life.
Yeah.
But like there's so many things that personally that I do in my business that like are actually work or are potentially making money or will be making money, but they don't feel like work, and it's just kind of I have I don't know if you call it a blessing or a curse that you turn all your hobbies into businesses.
Yep.
But then they're fun to do, and I don't have a problem doing them. I don't go out and play golf just because that's not what I do. I go and start something that will end up making me money, not just because I want the money, it's just because I enjoy doing it, And I'm like, well, I might as well sell it if I have it,
Definitely.
We haven't actually, speaking of that, talked about your stitching.
Oh yeah.
So I want to talk about that. So this
Another
is
business.
Yeah. See, I relate to it, so I want to hear about it.
Yeah. So my mom worked for an embroidery company that wound up shutting down, and well, not shutting down. She sold it because she was retiring, stuff like that. So when she was closing her business, she was selling all of her machines. And at the time, I already wanted to get into it. My mom and dad bought me a tiny little brother embroidery machine off of Amazon for $200. That was garbage and ripped every piece of clothing I put onto it. So this lady had a machine that was for sale, and it was a fraction of the price it would be online. So I bought it. And I started doing all of my clothes with my own logo. Then I started doing Halloween clothes and Christmas clothes. And then people who own businesses also wanted their logo put on stuff. So I started doing that. I haven't really promoted it as much just because, like, on my days off, I'll have my friends come and get their nails or lashes done, and because I'm just doing it to do it, that's when it's fun.
Sure.
So when money is in the equation, I'm like, oh, do I have to go do it, or can I wait a day?
Sure.
And the machine is also very temperamental, and there's only 2 mechanics for it on the entire East Coast.
Wow.
Yeah, one of them is like 6 hours upstate, and the other one goes to Turkey for 7 months a year. So I'm now an engineer for it, and I'm arms deep in this thing trying to fix it sometimes. And I'm on FaceTime with some random man, Lee, who lives in Texas, who tries to help, but it's a disaster.
Don't you love it, man? Like, these are you mentioned it before, the differences between 9 to 5, you clock in, clock out, versus it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And
2 in the morning, my arm is in a machine. Yeah. Getting stabbed with needles while stitching a piece of clothing, but
that's so good. Well, I appreciate your time, and I want to wrap up with one last question. And that question is, what is one thing that you know now in your career that you wish you knew when you first started out?
Don't let the bad reviews wind up getting to you, because at first nobody's good. And there were a lot of people at first who were like, oh really, you're just going to be a lash tech, you're just going to do nails? And I'm like, well, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound great. It's like, but I do have a 4-year college degree on top of that I just don't want to use. But everybody starts somewhere.
Sure, absolutely.
So everybody would always try and put it down.
I dropped out of college. You know how many comments I got for that?
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. So, like, to elaborate on that, it sounds like you're saying just put your head down and do what you want to do.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Shut everybody else
Stay
out.
in your lane and you'll figure it out.
Great, very cool. Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course.
I'll put all your social media stuff in the video. And
Perfect.
here's where there they are clapping though. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. God bless and peace out.